don't you got the mic?
I guess so, yeah. I'll do a nice soft start, I guess. My name's John Fulton. I work at Thompson Rivers University. I'm a video producer. I've been doing a lot of live streaming. There's my bio on there, the really old picture. Jason got me involved with this little experiment project. So we're planning on having like a really in-depth discussion with you guys about uses of YouTube. And Laura has got some amazing stuff for you content-wise. So I'll pass it off to Jason.
Now we'll take the mic and try to get in front of the cam here so Laura can see that there is a person chatting with you. Jason Toll from SFU. I work in educational media, and one of my focuses, besides drawing, if you were in my session 15 minutes ago, is open education. So using making media that is openly licensed. You may have heard of OERs. We do open media, so it includes YouTube's. My experience with YouTube is actually is more on the drawing side. So a lot of faculty I've worked with have wanted to make Khan Academy-like videos, which is a recording, a lecture with drawing. And so I've worked with a lot of these profs and YouTube has sort of been the delivery vehicle of choice because it's free and it's easy to use, but it has a lot of other implications these days, especially when it comes to the YouTuber. Is it a movement? Is it a generation? So who has heard the term YouTuber as a thing,
Me. I'm a YouTuber.
It is not a vegetable, but that is a good guess. And thank you, Troy. But I'm just going to briefly summarize because it was actually Laura who asked for our participation in this as some West Coast. She needed some West Coast cred for the Festival of Learning. So Laura, you're out in Ontario right now?
That's right. So I guess I'll just put up my little thing here. My name's
go.
Laura. I teach nursing at Cambrian College. Recently, I've been seconded to an innovation-based position, and I'm also an open fellow with eCampus Ontario. You guys may have heard of them. We stole David Porter from you guys. And he's talking about YouTubers. Well, I identify as a YouTuber, so I have a fairly serious hobby as a quote-unquote YouTuber. And then he sort of started in a little bit about why you might want to use videos as part of open education. And there are a lot of reasons why you might want to make YouTube videos in general, or just videos in general. But when it comes to open education, and you can explore the other reasons here on your own if you want, I think that the biggest things would be empowering students. So one of the things that really drew me to YouTube is the idea that they can watch me whenever they want, from wherever they want on their mobile devices. It's very user-friendly. And then if you think about the possibilities of open, there's really a lot of potential for collaboration there if we're then able to share videos. As I mentioned, I've been at a series of conferences lately, and it's a routine thing for me to run into people at conferences that know me, but I don't know them because they've used my videos in their classes. So I think the power of sharing there is really tremendous. If you guys want to explore some of the other reasons why you might want to make videos in general, whether they're open or not, I've listed some on the website, and there's a Padlet at the bottom of the screen that you can add some of your ideas. I don't know if you guys want to add over there.
Does everybody have the Padlet? If you're on your laptop, I believe on page, what's the slide number?
Well, they're not going to see slide numbers. So if they go to the very bottom of their page, it's slide number 2 of this presentation, but you have to go to the one that's under the BC Festival of Learning.
So I should explain here, we're sort of doing a little bit of a 5x5 presentation here, which means this is multi-dimensional. First of all, it's not a presentation, it's a discussion. So we are looking for your input, your insights and experiences, as well as us sharing ours. We have an interactive website, but we're also doing some crazy pipe tubes. We've got tubes. So we've got Laura broadcasting on a Google Hangout. Now, correct. Now, this is John's area, the technical. I'm going to pass this over to John. What's happening?
Yeah, so basically the easiest way to get her in and still have it streaming live on her YouTube channel, because she's got, how many followers? You got 30,000 or something?
Oh, no, not that many. 17,000 and some.
Just 17. Yeah, so she sent Google Hangout through that YouTube Live. That's what you're seeing right now, is our participation in the Google Hangout. And then we've just, some technical stuff to make sure that she can see you guys and hear us synchronously.
That's right.
What's next? Where do you want to go?
Well,
order, but go ahead, Laura.
Well, I don't know if you want to talk more about why you might use videos, or if, I think generally speaking, people that come to presentations about video making have some ideas, around the potential to connect with learners. For example, I'm just going to refer back to the Padlet, but then maybe we can get into some of the interesting discussions about YouTube as a choice for using it. Yeah, so I see Kelly really likes the idea of customizing content to your contacts. I think that's a really great idea as well. It's also useful for alternate assignments. I see that. Actually, in a couple of the more recent presentations that I've done, educators are not necessarily always interested in creating videos themselves, but having students create the videos, and then YouTube offers a good option for sharing those types of videos. Some of these other ones are from an earlier presentation, so I don't think they're this audience. There's a difference between pre-recording versus live streaming. So live streaming is what we're doing right now, means that there's no editing involved. Users get to connect with you because they can see the mistakes that you make, whereas if I'm producing a video and I'm recording it in advance, there's the potential for more editing being involved there. I guess it just depends on how good you are on your sort of first delivery. But the focus of this presentation is considering YouTube and the possibilities for open education. So I think one of the things that I should raise is that when I became an open education fellow, and I heard, and even before that, when I heard about this thing we call open education, it really resonated with me, because that's why I was using YouTube, to sort of contribute, right? And then I learned about the power of Creative Commons licensing. So I've only recently been using that license on my videos. But if you actually take a look at YouTube and the way that they're currently set up, they don't give you any easy way to download the videos. So then that limits your ability to remix videos. When I was applying to be a fellow, I thought I'm going to do this brilliant thing and I'm going to use remixed videos in my application process, but I didn't want to break YouTube's terms of service. I don't know if you guys read terms of service, but they actually say that you can't download content unless you see a download link right there. And this video here is a recent presentation. That's the one from CNIE that I did, licensed as Creative Commons, and I can't find a download link anywhere, nor can I find a download link on other Creative Commons videos. So I think that's just an interesting situation where you can license it as Creative Commons, but you can't necessarily engage in all of the activities that Creative Commons offers. So then the question is YouTube still a good platform to use? And I guess maybe I'd open that question to the audience.
So what about TED Ed compared to YouTube then? Because with TED Ed, you can download, remix, and share.
Okay, I'm not very familiar with TED Ed, so maybe, what are the features there?
Well, it's like YouTube in a lot of ways. So you can upload video. They don't do live streaming, but you can upload a video. You can create a lesson, a whole lesson plan, and then you share that out through Creative Commons licensing. And then anybody else, any other educator or student, can go in and take all of that and remix it and reshare it and repost it. So I'm wondering if it's maybe a more viable platform than YouTube.
Okay. So I'm looking them up right now. That's not one that we had pre-looked at.
My mouse.
Have any of you guys uploaded videos to TED Ed?
Yeah, ironically, I think you can. You can upload YouTube, but you can also upload your own videos, I believe.
The back end may possibly be YouTube, but then the permissions and stuff would be different depending on what they've designed, probably. Yeah, well, that's good. That's one to definitely look into.
Yeah, for sure. That's a great tip. I'm looking at one right now. Sorry, I guess I should have put it up on this screen, but
We have it on our screen.
Okay. I'm looking at what causes constipation. And so I'm a nurse, right? Okay. Anyways, so I'm not seeing the download button anywhere when I right click on it either. So where do they provide the downloads? Do you know?
Oh, it's been a while since I played with it.
Okay.
But the reason that I wanted to use it was to be able to reuse and sort of reconfigure it for different use. I think with customize this lesson, it might be there.
Okay. Yeah, I'll definitely have to explore that. So another thing that I think is kind of good about YouTube is that when I create a video, I add my tags, that kind of thing. You know, I create the thumbnails, and I see TED Ed has some really great stuff here as well. And it looks like they do use YouTube as their video platform. What YouTube does is then it promotes the video. So it's really hard to empower students if they don't know that you exist, right? It's hard to empower students if you can't reach them. So I like that YouTube has that sort of built in. And so I think we were looking at using some different or suggesting some different video platforms, and we weren't really able to find one that is as good as YouTube at that piece.
So I guess I'll put a question just to the room right now. As far as, I mean, this might be a generational thing, but YouTube is a streaming service. You need to be connected. But have you had any interest or demand from students to download videos? Is that something that students want or have requested? Is the streaming good enough? I've seen nods for streaming. Yeah.
More for the remixing portion.
It is more for the remixing for sure. I'm gonna trip you up. I'm gonna try to get the mic over here because there's comments.
We had some commuters ask if they could download, and actually just wanted the audio so they could drive and listen to the audio. So we had a video. We had done all this production on this video, and they just wanted to listen to it. So making it downloadable because they didn't want to waste their bandwidth on their cell phone or whatever.
That's awesome. That's actually one of the first things in our Ed Media program. Everybody wants to come and make a video. And we start by convincing them to not make the video. In terms of looking for other options, is video the best way? Because it's very resource intensive with bandwidth and production value.
Well, I think it depends on what you're trying to do. I was talking to our video guy here at Cambrian, and he was saying, you know, just like with any other tool, you have to look at the reason behind why you would do a video. And if there's a visual piece, you know, like you have to show someone how to inject or something like that, then I would think video would be superior to audio, because how are you going to explain that? There's also, in terms of audience engagement, one would argue that if you're just listening to a recording, like it depends on the person. Some people really like podcasts, but if you're just listening to audio, sometimes if you're missing that visual piece, it's harder to stay interested. So I think it depends on your goals, like what you're trying to teach, and who your audience is.
And the visual, so on the site, I've posted links to some of the SFU profs that I've worked with that have gone to YouTube as a delivery platform, and that seems to be the common thread why they have chosen not YouTube as a platform, but video as a media format, is that they're trying to explain concepts that need to be communicated visually and usually in a timeline.
I've done a lot of downloading of YouTube video for various projects that I've worked on. And there's some browser plugins like Video Download Helper. Yeah. It works on all the major platforms. And what happens when you get to a YouTube video that you can download, these little you see these little icons, they kind of start twirling around.
Yeah.
And if it's you know, if it's something you're not allowed to download, or maybe there may be some other criteria involved, I'm not sure, but you won't be able to do it. So anyways, you could try that out if you want. I've used that quite successfully for the last several years.
Well, there are tons of ways to download YouTube videos, I think. Do they all violate terms of service?
Well, you have to look at the video itself and decide. Like, and part of my job, I do actually have to download a lot of videos, but we've licensed the videos and they just don't have it anywhere else other than YouTube. They haven't set it up with the YouTube link, so I use Wondershare, download it, put it on our server and stuff like that. So there's there's tons of ways to do it. But it's just frustrating that when we're trying to do it intentionally, that the tool isn't giving it.
Oh, for sure. And you know what? I've reached out to YouTube, and maybe this, who knows, maybe this video will get some attention, to ask the question. And I've asked Creative Commons because I was at the CC Summit in Toronto, and they said, you know, they've had similar questions from people around that. Now, if I look at the terms of service here, which as a YouTuber, I don't feel like I want to violate, it says you shall not download any content unless you see a download or similar link displayed by YouTube on the service for that content. So for that reason, I wouldn't want to use one of those external apps. I know it can be done. In fact, people have downloaded my videos and used them without me sort of sending them the videos using, I'm guessing, apps like that. And it says you shall not copy whatever, etc., without prior written consent of YouTube or the people that own the content, right? So, like, I don't know from YouTube's perspective if the Creative Commons license is enough. It should, but they should, like in the past, they had download links. They should have download links on it when I'm looking at those terms of service. If I'm going to remix the videos, particularly if I'm going to then repost it on my channel to share. Like if I'm going to take a clip of Rajiv's video and then I'm going to take a clip of somebody else's video and then I'm going to comment on that, am I going to get in trouble? I'm thinking maybe likely not, because I've seen bigger YouTubers do that kind of thing. But still, I think it would be nice if they clarified their terms of service.
Definitely. Any other comments at this point? Questions, John? Are you sure? Do you want to move on away from CC stuff now? Anything? Sure. Let me just pop in and just talk about the synchronous versus asynchronous again, because right now, like, we are talking about live streaming, but often, you know, students are commuting and not, or whatever. So a lot of these videos, like the Tony Bell one from TRU, are accounting videos where the student's going to go back after class and just like, it just doesn't quite get that one concept. You can keep reviewing it until he has it. There's a bunch of best practices around that. Tony kind of breaks one of them that bugs me is the picture-in-picture. So when you set up your like Camtasia or whatever screen capturing you're going to do, it often defaults to your little picture-in-picture in the corner. Students, all people are fascinated by faces and eyes, so you'll automatically start looking at the face, and it's just harder cognitively to keep focus of what you're doing. So I put an example of one that I've done where initially the instructor did the whole Camtasia thing himself, but he had his entire screen was captured, but he was only using like one tiny third of it in Excel to show everything, right? So when I got his file, I was able to zoom into that, clarify that, get his picture out of the way, just put it in as an introduction. He's like, hi, I'm Rob. This is the course I'm doing, and here's the content, right? And then they can really focus on it. I don't know. Did you guys have any other comments about that? Experiences with doing that kind of stuff?
I think it brings up a really good point. I think that within education circles, you hear this a lot, that you know, we gravitate towards faces. But I think you've just pointed out the exact reason why you should not have your face plastered all over, because you don't want people necessarily, your learners, to be gravitating towards you. You want them to focus on the content. And I think that's a really good message to like reinforce that you don't need to have it on there. I use VideoScribe for everything. I never put my face on videos, partly because I look really bad on video, and I'm not comfortable with it. But I've never gotten any pushback. Like, I have yet to have a learner say, "Hey, you know, we didn't learn anything because we didn't see your face," right?
And there are, sorry to pipe in, there are other ways to be interesting. like using different tones of voice and stuff. Are you guys hearing an echo, or is that just me?
It's probably just you.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Go ahead.
If I sound weird, it's because I was hearing myself. I was just saying that you can sound like one of the things that I had to learn was not to talk too fast in my YouTube videos when I was doing screen captures, not to sound bored. Like if I know, you know, we probably looked over this thing a million times, but if you sound bored when you're reading a script or talking about something, then your students are going to be bored and your audience retention is going to drop. I do find that like a lot of the YouTubers say having your face is really good for keeping audience engagement, because if you look at your YouTube statistics, they'll give you a chart and you'll be able to see when people stop watching. So maybe if you look at analytics, sometimes you can try and figure out when people are not watching you. But I would agree with you that it really depends on what the content is. It doesn't make a lot of sense to have my face on there and just my face if I'm trying to explain something that would be better drawn, right? Whereas I find that sometimes, just recently I've been doing some on-camera videos, and what I'll do is I'll have my face and I'll have some key points. But again, it just depends on what you're teaching.
I love this setup that she has right now with the TV screen in the back, and she's in control of that. It's just really nice.
Thank you. And I, on purpose, sat where the blank space was. See, there's blank space on the website.
That's smart.
Well, I think it brings up a good point now is audio quality. So this was one of the takeaways from some of the professors I spoke to. So there is the issue of, am I on screen or not? And if I am, you know, why and how am I going to engage with the content? But overwhelmingly, what I've heard at SFU is that the quality of audio is the deal breaker. That if whether you're on screen or not on screen, if you've recorded with a good microphone, and that is part of if you haven't actually recorded with a good microphone, you're bound to lose people. Laura, do you have any tips for audio recording, or does anybody have any experience with audio quality issues? I'm sure we all do. Yes, sir.
I would just say use a headset mic, you know, a Logitech or a Sennheiser or some kind of little headset mic, and don't depend on the webcam. The audio becomes close and intimate, and the idea that I want is I'm talking right in their ear. I'm right there with them, and they feel that. They want me over their shoulder helping them, and then they can watch their mouse move as if my hand is invisibly moving it around. So their tutor is on deck. Whereas if it sounds like I'm across the room, I'm in an aircraft hangar somewhere, I'm not there with them. And I think that really is kind of what you're talking about as far as quality.
Thank you.
Yeah, I actually have a Yeti and I find it's really good for the screen capture type videos. I'm currently experimenting with how to best capture audio for when I'm on camera, because I've only started going on camera very recently. And I talked to our video guy here at Cambria, and his name's Jeff. And he said that his priorities would be content first, then audio. Audio is number 2, and a lot of people do ignore the audio, then lighting, and then video quality.
Definitely.
I would suggest too that I've been recording video for a long time, and I've learned through thousands of mistakes. And I finally have invested in a Yeti, and I broke my first Yeti because the plug-in for it's in an awkward spot. So I replaced it with a Snowball, but they're like $60, right? Like they're not that expensive for a really good quality piece of hardware. And Audacity's free, right? That's a free, and you can get really, really good at editing your audio and making it sound really good, really quickly.
That's one thing I actually really like about Camtasia, and I talk about in here. It's only $300 software. You do the screen capture, but the editing capability, and they actually tout it as a video editor. They don't call it a screen capturing device, right? So it's pretty good. Yeah. Anything else? You were...
I was just going to bring attention to some other technical considerations.
Definitely.
Lighting. I never consider the lighting myself, because I like to shoot outside, but it's hard to do digital drawing out out in the field, so to speak. So.
Well, you know what? I think, again, it depends on the type of video that you're doing. So I've been experimenting with a green screen in my basement. And so lighting and even lighting of the green screen is essential if you're going to cut the green screen out of the back. Because you can't use a green screen video if you can't use, they call it a chroma key, if you can't use that to then take the green part out of the video. But also lighting is super important, you know, lighting on your face so people can see you. I don't know if you've seen videos that are done in somebody's basement where they didn't have good lighting and it's like really dark and you can't see them. Well, that's not an engaging video, right?
Yeah, don't be in front of the window. Have the window
Yeah.
to your side or front facing.
And,
yeah, go ahead.
sorry, I really, really like whatever that last person said about learning through 1,000 mistakes, because that's exactly what I've done. Every time I make a video, I try and do something a little bit better than the last time. And it's never going to be 100% perfect, but at some point I just kind of have to put stuff out there, and you learn the more that you do it, right? And so I think that, like, if you're going to remember one thing from this presentation, I think that tip is just making mistakes and learning from them would be the key takeaway.
When you guys walked into the room, was there anything specifically that was coming itching at your mind that you were looking forward to? Free coffee, water?
I'm curious about this actual setup. Like, is that, Laura, is that a actual big giant TV behind you?
Yes.
Oh yeah, so we were having some difficulty figuring out exactly where we were going to do this, and so I experimented doing it for my basement. And then it's the evening, so nobody's around, but I'm in Cambrian's Faculty Teaching, Learning, and Innovation Hub, and they have a big TV set up on the wall. So this isn't the usual setup that I do for videos, and I've got 2 laptops going right now. One for the Google Hangout, which is connected through YouTube. You can just live stream right inside YouTube using that. And then the other one is controlling the screen. So that's my setup. I did cheat a little bit though. I had a guy help me with the setup.
Just about out of time, it looks like.
Are we?
Yeah, it's 3:45.
Go to 4.
Oh, right, 4. Sorry, I don't know how to. 4:40. We have lots of time. Good. All right, good. I was panicking. I was like, what? What's going on?
Well, there's still a few areas to cover, I think, but
Yeah.
we'll try to draw some themes out of the crowd because we sort of covered some of the technical aspects. There are surely more. We haven't really touched on. Have we touched on pedagogical aspects? Kind of. I mean, again, overwhelmingly, the SFU experience. YouTube or video was made to flip the class. So that was the concept behind each of the links that I put up. So you record your lecture, you have students listen to it before the class, and then you use your classroom time for questions, for projects, for discussion, and this sort of thing. I am curious. Well, Laura, does that fit with your pedagogical approach as well, or are there others in the room that we can consider?
Well, I always learn something when I hear from the audience, but I guess I sort of skimmed over some of this at the beginning because I wasn't sure how much people really wanted to talk about the Creative Commons sort of aspect of it. There are all kinds of reasons why you might want to use YouTube. Flipping the classroom to me is just one of them. Saving yourselves a million emails because students are asking you the exact same question over and over again has been particularly useful for me. Actually, my first videos were APA related videos. And so I showed people on screen, and this was just a screen capture video, how to format their references, how to make a title page that is specific to the requirements that we had here. And I find, I've heard other teachers say this the same thing. When it comes to something like APA, although there's a rule book, because it's a formatting style with a rule book, sometimes different teachers will do things slightly differently. And so students often are uncomfortable unless they hear it directly from the teacher. So it really helped to sort of have that, that video there. I've also used it for assignment instructions, frequently asked questions. There's actually an example of a video that we did that way that I had the people at Cambrian record, and so it's on their YouTube page. And I had a fellow faculty member to pretend to be a student asking me questions, and that sort of saved a lot of those, emails from frequently asked questions. Also, if the key messages from whatever you're teaching are in a YouTube video somewhere, whether it's the one that you've created or not, I find that students are better able to focus, even if you are quote unquote lecturing in the class, because the reality is not everybody's going to watch the video. So if there's really essential things, sometimes you'll want to touch on those anyways. And then one thing that I've heard a couple of educators doing is just informal videos like, hey, this is what we're doing this week. Very low editing. One person was just doing it with her cell phone to connect particularly with online learners, because sometimes they don't see you as a person if all you're using is text in your course. So that was just sort of an overview of some ideas. But if you guys have other ideas that you'd like to share with the group, I think that would be wonderful.
Well, I love that you have the Padlets on the bottom of every page. It's brilliant. It's a brilliant way to leave comments and feedback.
From my institution, I mean, we're solely distant. Well, we're not solely, but we're at the part I work for. We're distance education, right? So all of this video stuff is embedded usually on our own server, or we have links outside to other things. So we have faculty on campus helping, and I'm helping them develop media. So it's kind of a necessity for us, obviously. But for face-to-face learners, I mean, it's such an add-on, I think, right? Value added.
I'm curious, do we have a sense of in the room how many of you teach in person versus online? Maybe a show of hands if you teach in person.
In person?
2, 3, 4.
What does it look like, guys?
About 10.
Oh, 10. Okay, what about online? You guys teach online?
Oh, yeah, double Venn diagram. 3.
Like 3? Okay. And then do we have like administrators and stuff in the room too? Or tech support people?
Tech support.
And
IDs. Yeah. IDs.
Okay. That's good. So we have a whole mix. And you know what? Since I actually see someone that I think that I know from Twitter who's saying universal design for learning, multiple means of representation. Video provides another way to teach and learn. And you know what? That is such a great point. People learn things in different ways, and you've probably heard a lot of universal design for learning in the past. And if we can communicate the same message in text and video, and maybe do a podcast, then that's reaching different learners, and you'll be able to do like transcripts from that kind of thing as well. I think that's really great point.
Do you want to mention about the transcript? I could talk about it actually. Is YouTube, once you put a video onto YouTube, it will transcribe for you. Not very well, but you can go in and edit it, right? So it does help with accessibility issues as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
We haven't talked about some of the extra tools, subtitling, captioning, hotspots. There's a whole suite of tools in the back, and a lot of people don't realize it's for YouTube.
Yeah, I've cheated sometimes and used YouTube to try to do a quick translation or transcript, and sometimes it's really bad.
Well, so they're getting better and better all the time.
Yeah.
I like that they allow you, like the screen that I have here, to do some editing, but they have a hard time with really academic words. Like I'm teaching research, right? So if I say epistemology, they never get that right.
What do they put instead?
I don't remember.
I want to know.
I don't usually pay attention, and sometimes they'll just skip words if they don't know what it is, right? So it is important to let YouTube maybe do the first round and then look it over. Or if you script your videos, like if you're doing screen capture and you have a script, you can just actually put your script in and then let it sync the timings. Conveniently, there's YouTube videos to show you exactly how to do that out there.
We didn't really talk about how much informal learning is done on YouTube. We were talking about it at the pub last night. But well, I guess it's a good, so this is in my conversations, chatting, and thinking about YouTubers versus open educators, if I could be so bold. But there was a common theme, and what I heard were the faculty that put YouTube videos out. They have a class and they have a specific group of students. It does save them time if they're going to teach the same class each year, because they go back to this suite of videos and they've got if they spent the time to break them down into units, the contents is there ready for them to go. But also they get a great charge when they get emails from another country or from where the video has reached an audience that is either, well, obviously not in their class, but maybe learning at another institution. Maybe they don't have access to learning resources, and also some frustration with one of my examples. He spent his sabbatical year making videos, over 60 of them. He hired a web designer to put a site together. They're hosted on YouTube and on a website. The graphics are a little dated. There's a chalkboard. So that example is up there, but his whole idea as an academic was that they're pedagogically sound. He spent a lot of time on his lectures, and this is for English and grammar. So a very universal appeal. He gets a lot of great compliments and emails. But then he turns around and he sees somebody that's doing an English lesson in their living room that posted it up in 5 minutes and is probably not even an academic, and they've got 10,000 views, and he's got 400, and he's screaming, and so I find it very interesting. Open educators, they must have this desire to give and be open, and they want these resources, but then there's some sort of tension with YouTube, because YouTube, if you're too slow, and I think, Laura, maybe you can speak to this, if you're too slow and you don't post the right kind of videos with the right frequency, and I think frequency is one of the things.
Frequency is one. There's lots of things. So if you want to get in, I've learned everything that I've learned about making YouTube videos from YouTubers. And if you want to get into the details, you can figure out what YouTube analytics looks at in terms of promoting your videos and ranking your videos and that kind of thing. There's a few key things. Frequency of upload is important, and unfortunately, as an academic, I don't upload weekly, which is what they recommend. You can play some tricks by dividing your videos up into series. So you'll see sometimes I've done that, and I've done that for two reasons. One, because it increases my frequency of upload, and two, because people on YouTube are only going to watch my videos for 3 to 5 minutes anyways. So if I can break that up, it helps with my most important thing, which is watch time. So if you post a video and everybody watches the first 30 seconds, but they don't watch the last 20 minutes, your video is not going to show up, because YouTube wants people to stay on YouTube so that they can keep people sucked into the loop of forever. I don't know if you've ever done this, but forever watching videos. Like my kids can watch videos forever. And, I can watch videos forever too on YouTube sometimes, because they're so great at suggesting, related videos and that kind of thing. So if you don't pay attention to your audience retention, and your audience retention suffers, like, I don't know, I haven't seen the back end of these videos, but my videos, I'll tell you, the audience retention, it's getting better lately, but it'll be good for the first one, then it'll drop, and then it'll have a lower audience retention. That's sort of normal, but you want to get that sort of end up as high as you can, which is why I've been experimenting with being on camera, because that is a lot of times more engaging for people. I've had the same thing happen. So I teach nursing, and simplenursing.com, you can look him up if you want. This guy started his YouTube channel, I think, after me, and all he would do at the very beginning was read a textbook and sometimes write on a whiteboard behind him. And so there was a lot less, I would say, post-editing going in there. And he was a nursing student at the time, and all the power to him. I think that he's, had some good educational videos out there. But sometimes I'll look at that and I'll be like, man, if I could put a video out there with that level of effort and get the number of views that you're getting and reach the amount of people that you're reaching, that would be really good. But I just, for whatever reason, I haven't reached as far as he has. Mind you, he turned this into a commercial thing and is selling stuff through his simplenursing.com website. And so he's got a marketing team behind him, whereas I'm a one-man show with 4 kids and an academic career, and I just can't, I can't keep up to the frequency. I don't know if that answers your question.
Get it together, Laura. Come on.
Use it as a hobby.
I got a question or a comment here.
Yeah, I guess maybe a bit of both. One of the concerns, and that faculty come to me quite often, and they want to make videos because they think videos are great and yada, yada, yada. And like Jason said, he tries to talk people out of that. And one of the reasons is video is so much more difficult to keep up to date compared to, a flat text. And I'm wondering if you could talk about some strategies that you might use to make that easier or to deal with that particular question.
So it might depend on what you're teaching. Personally, the videos that I've made are predominantly around things like research and APA. I'm ready when they ever put out a new book, but a lot of the stuff that I teach doesn't really change. However, I do keep all my files. So all of my edited things from Adobe Premiere, which is what I use, I keep them. So if I wanted to just do a section of a video and redo that, I could, but I've never redone a video yet. But when I am creating videos, I do pay attention. Like if there is content that I think is changing, like for example, I wouldn't, if I'm making an assignment instruction video, I wouldn't be like, here's the rubric. I did at the very beginning, but I wouldn't do that anymore. I would say, see the link in the comments below for the rubric. So that maybe the general principles about how to write an introduction are going to stay the same. But if I want to change what I'm marking from that introduction in the rubric, I can easily change the rubric. And I use Google Docs a lot of the time for that kind of thing, moving more towards websites. But that's one way. Is it anything that you think you might change? Don't put it on the screen.
Yeah, I mean, this is in my job that I come up with this a lot, right? So I look at the script and pay attention to what they're saying, make sure they're not saying in chapter 3, because the textbook's going to change. In the previous video we watched, because the order may change. I don't put any of the identifying features on the video part itself. We have a thing where I can put a still frame in front of the video, and I can change that quickly because it's just a JPEG. So I put all that kind of info on there. But yeah, just being really paying attention to what they're saying in the video and content, and just no dates or times or anything, or referencing forward or backward in time.
So the other tip that I would have for that is I do refer to other videos, and YouTube has what they call cards now, where if you're using a YouTube channel, you can say, see the card or link to the card, but you can actually change what the cards are if you need to. So if you're going to refer to a previous video or a video in the series, you can link to a playlist, you can link to a specific video, you can suggest your own videos at the end of your video before YouTube does their suggestion, because you can put what they call an end card on top to help link those series videos together.
Anybody else have any tips around that, shooting video?
I kind of do. So I took the Common Craft course on designing explainer videos like 4 years ago, just because I think they do such a phenomenal job of packing in really dense, complex information and knowledge into these nice, really entertaining short videos. And my suggestion is that that's another option. Like you can do the picture-in-picture and sort of a lecture style, or you can also get really creative, and it's really not outside of most folks' wheelhouse. Like I'm not particularly creative or talented, but I picked up some tips and made a lot of mistakes along the way. And I mean, my last contract was with W designing videos for their training. So I mean, it doesn't take long before you can get really, proficient enough at these types of things. And the cost of technology is coming down. It's like you say, Camtasia is pretty cheap, right? Yeah. So yeah, I think there's just lots of different ways to go about this.
Yeah, I think in the slide deck that you have a bunch of examples of other types of tools like that. Sorry, what were you saying?
Oh, I was just gonna say, yeah, my on-screen videos are typically shot with my cell phone.
We're at time. Yeah.
Oh, we're at time. Okay, don't cut me off yet.
No.
No.
Anybody have any further questions, comments, critiques, words of wisdom? Yeah.
Like, so I'm just getting started on like making videos and such. And if anybody has any resources for how to kind of caught up on what are best practices and do's and don'ts and that kind of thing, like I'd love to hear like websites and stuff that I can check out.
Definitely. We'll put more of the links on that page that's up there.
We can add a page at the end about best practices. And if you guys want to give me some tips, like I've never actually taken a course. So the person in the audience that took that course, I don't know if it's still around. I've learned everything from YouTube. Throughout this website, I've tried to link to YouTube videos that I found particularly helpful in different sections. But if there's something that you're looking for, you can reach out to me. I don't know if everybody's on Twitter or not, but I'm Nurse Killam on Twitter. I should actually put a contact me form somewhere on here so that those of you who aren't Twitter users, you can reach out as well. Or you can find me on YouTube, again, Nurse Killam. I didn't want you to cut me off before I said that, because I would really like to make some connections. And I think this is really awesome that there's some other video creators out here, because I've had a hard time finding people that take video creation seriously in the academic world. And I think that if we can network together and learn from each other what works in our context, it'll help us produce better videos and maybe even more efficiently.
Definitely. Anything else? Crickets. Everyone's like, I gotta get home. It's 4 o'clock.
Thank you for sticking around.
Yeah, we are at the last session of a 3-day blowout. So applause for everyone.
Yeah, I expected just 2 people to be here, the people that I'm getting a ride with. And so everybody else is a bonus.
And thank you, Laura. I think it's trailblazing what you're doing, actually. So I look forward to your successes and staying in touch.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
And I think hats off to you guys. So just so that everybody knows, I've never met these people before. I reached out to Rajiv. I was like, you know anybody that makes videos for this BC Festival of Learning thing? And he put me in touch with these guys. So hats off for experimenting with me.
It's been a ton of fun. Yeah, we love it. And that's it. That's a wrap.
That's it. Okay, I'm going to stop the broadcast. Thank you very much. If you have any comments, please put them in the comments box below, and I'll respond.